Welcome to Snowy Peaks Winery in beautiful Estes Park, Colorado. We are a family-owned and operated winery committed to creating fantastic, handcrafted wines from Colorado-grown grapes. We hope you enjoy this brief tour of the winemaking process, filmed that has occurred during the 2006 vintage.
Here at Snowy Peaks Winery, we start with grapes grown on the west slope of Colorado near the towns of Palisade and Peonia. The grapes are carefully harvested in the fall from September through October, then loaded onto refrigerated trucks for the drive over the Rocky Mountains.
The grapes are delivered to the crusher destemmer, where we, along with family and friends, begin the process of turning the grapes into wine. The destemmer gently pulls the stems off the grape bunches and then crushes the grapes, creating a slurry which is then pumped back into the picking bins. The grapes are then loaded onto a truck and brought up the mountain to our winery in Estes Park.
Once at the winery, the white grapes are loaded into a basket press, which gently presses the juice from the grape skins. Inside the basket press is a large bladder, which inflates with air, squeezing the grapes against the wooden sides. The juice runs out of the bottom of the press and is pumped into a stainless steel tank where yeast is added and the fermentation process begins.
Unlike white grapes, red grape juice is fermented with the skins mixed in, and then it goes into the press. The dark red color, tannins, and complex flavors of red wine come from the skins. Otherwise, the juice from red grapes is almost as clear as white grape juice. In order to best extract the color and flavors, yeast is added directly to the grapes after crush, and the whole mash, juices, skins, seeds, and all, ferments in the picking bins for about 1 week. Once most of the fermentation is over, the red grapes are loaded into the press and the juices are extracted. The resulting wine is pumped into stainless steel tanks to finish fermentation and to let the sediment settle to the bottom. Then the wine is placed in oak barrels. This process can take an additional 2 to 3 weeks depending on room temperature and the quantity of wine.
During fermentation, the yeast converts the fruit sugars to alcohol and releases carbon dioxide. The bins and tanks are left open or only partially covered to allow the gases to escape. After a 2 to 3 week settling period, red wines are pumped into oak barrels where they will age for a minimum of 6 months. Here at Snowy Peaks, most red wine will be in the barrel anywhere from 10 to 16 months depending on the variety. Oak barrel aging adds complexity while concentrating the flavors of the wine through slow evaporation. Oak barrels are the winemaker's spice rack. Each barrel imparts its own unique flavors to the wine depending on the type of wood and the method used to build the barrel. The winemaker chooses barrels that will best complement and enhance the flavors naturally present in the wine. They can also blend wines from different barrels to even further refine the character of the wine. We use both French and American oak barrels depending on which spices best fit a wine varietal.
Barrels will gradually impart less oak flavor to the wine over the years and will add little flavor after about 4 years of use. However, these neutral barrels can still be used to improve the flavors of the wine. Tiny pores in the wood allow for small interaction with oxygen, which soften and mellow the palate of the wine.
Another activity that occurs during the aging process is blending. Blending refers to combining different wines together to get a product that is more complex and balanced than the individual parts. We blend for many different reasons. The most common is to balance the amount of oak flavor in the wine.
When barrels are new, they impart a very strong flavor to the wine. Since this can sometimes overwhelm the other flavors, we will split a batch of wine between a new oak and a neutral barrel and then blend the two back together before bottling.
Another blend is made from combining wines made from different varietals, like our Sebastian's Red, which is made from Merlot, and Cabernet Sauvignon. We also make blends based on the origin of the grapes. The same variety of grapes will taste very different depending on where and how they are grown. We source grapes from different vineyards so that we can take advantage of these variances in character. We keep the batches separate during fermentation and aging, then blend them together to create a more complex and balanced wine. Blending is where winemaking becomes art. Each wine must be combined with the others in the perfect proportions to create a harmonious whole. This means lots of tasting and spitting. Even small changes in the proportions can have a dramatic effect on the flavor of the wine, so each sample is carefully measured out and many blends are created and tasted side by side to find the best mix. Once the winemaker finds the combination that works best, he calculates the portions to fit the amount of finished wine he wants to end up with.
The wines are blended together in a tank and pumped back into the barrels. Further aging in barrels allows the flavors to integrate with each other.
Depending on grape variety and style of wine the winemaker is trying to create, wines are typically aged for 6 to 24 months. We generally bottle our white wines after about 6 months, and the reds are kept in barrels for about a year. Once the wines are ready for bottling, they are pumped into tanks on the upper level of the winery. White wine, especially ones with residual sugar, are filtered to remove any remaining yeast. Red wines are sometimes filtered to remove any remaining sediment that is still in the barrel. The wine is then gravity-fed into the bottle filler. Compressed air or nitrogen is blown into the bottles to remove any dust. Then the bottles are inserted into the filler, which fills them to the correct level. Carbon dioxide is added to displace the oxygen in the neck of the bottle. Then the corks are inserted using a hand corker. Capsules are placed on top of the bottles, and heat guns are used to shrink them to fit. The bottles are labeled and placed in boxes to be stored until they are sold. Many thanks to Terry and Karen Wickstrom for producing this video and their support over the years. We also want to thank our friends and family for their generosity in volunteering their labor throughout the winemaking process. It wouldn't be possible without their help. Thanks to the wonderful customers who were filmed in our tasting room enjoying the final product of our labor of love. And finally, thanks to all of you who have supported us and bought our wine. You truly make it all possible and worthwhile.